So thank you for giving me a few minutes of your time today. This is going to be kind of an informal conversation about some things for the remainder of the school year, but I felt it important for you guys to hear that directly from me. So I appreciate what you're doing. I wanted to start out this morning by talking about some of the thank yous that I would like to throw out. There's been a lot of proud moments as superintendent as we've been watching what's transpired in front of us over the past 3 weeks. A lot of things outside of our control, but the things that we did control have been pretty amazing. From the extended learning plans that you guys put together realistically within several hours to get prepared for a huge unknown for our students. And so I just appreciate all the efforts that you guys have put in. And I'm speaking to our teachers, our interventionists, our speech pathologists, our social workers, our counselors, everybody that's been involved in putting together a plan for students to make sure they're engaged and that their education continues. I just want you to know how much I appreciate. I'm hearing stories about the parades that we've done, pictures that you're taking and posting on social media to let the students know that they're missed and that you guys really care for them and want to see them again. Handwritten notes from teachers going out to our students through the mail, via email, Class Dojo. There's been a variety of things. And so when I look at that, I appreciate the fact that one of the things I've tried to instill in you guys over the past 8 years is step out there and take a risk. And you guys are taking those risks daily, and they are greatly appreciated. I want you to know that there's not a playbook for this. There's not something that we're looking into in leadership books somewhere trying to figure out what are the best decisions we can make. We're taking all the information we can get. We're getting that out to you and making decisions based on that, always based on what's good for our kids. And so I want you guys to know that what you're doing, although there's no playbook, you're doing some amazing things, and you don't need to second guess yourself. Don't overindulge and do more than you think you have to, but the things that you are doing, you're doing some amazing things, and I want you to know that, and I want you to know I'm hearing from parents and from families and from students and from other systems about the great things that you guys are doing. So keep up that great work, and thank you for what you're doing. Food distribution, that's been an amazing process as well. Our folks in school food service, our transportation folks driving the buses, all of the volunteers, our faith-based communities, folks that have come in and said, we want to lend a hand. That's been fairly amazing as well. And you guys may not realize this, but during that time period, we're providing about 20,000, it's actually about 23,000 meals every week to the students that are asking for this. And that's a huge component of what we do as educators, but more specifically what we do here in Walker County. We provide for the basic needs of our students. And so that's a huge component to this as well that we undertook. We do summer feeding every year, but we don't do that during the course of a school year. And so this has been a huge undertaking, but it's been another moment that's been a source of pride for me, and I know for everyone else out there. The other piece I want to mention is just the communication that you're continuing with not only our students, but with their families. And also with each other. I know you guys miss seeing one another. Most of us miss seeing one another. And I know that's a difficult thing as well. So all the components of Zoom meetings and Google Hangouts and Class Dojo, email, text messaging, phone calls, we're making every effort to stay connected with our kids. I know those students appreciate it. I know the families appreciate it because they're expressing that appreciation. And I know that you as professional educators and folks in your building, all staff members, appreciate that contact as well. So thank you for all the things that you guys are doing. It is greatly appreciated. There's no wrong answer here. We're doing things, and everything that you're doing is a risk, but it is appreciated, and I wanted you to hear that from me. Let's talk a little bit about the remainder of the school year. There's a lot of things changing with our extended learning plans. As we pass spring break, we want to begin to really focus in on academics Monday through Friday with the help of our SPED teachers, our interventionists, our speech and language pathologists, our ESL teachers. All of those folks are doing those same things, working in collaboration together Monday through Wednesday. Thursdays, we're going to start designating as a date for RTI, for special education, for enrichment, something that gives a little bit of a break, but also focuses in on areas of need, especially remediation. And so we'll focus on that on Thursdays. And then Friday will continue to be intentional wellness for our students We want them to have opportunities with physical education, with art. We have a donor who's working on some art packets for our families so that they'll have supplies. Those will be going out with our food distribution. And so we're trying to make sure that Friday is intentional wellness and makeup. We want our kids to have time to make up assignments that they haven't completed at that point. We also want to offer a time for our teachers to have some collaborative planning time. So we'll begin to set that up through each principal at the schools, and we'll try to do 2-hour increments or whatever they determine so that you guys can have a virtual meeting together and begin to plan. I want you to talk about what do those extended learning plans look like? Where are we with certain kids? Are there students that are on the radar who are maybe in jeopardy of not passing, not turning in work? These are all components of things we were doing when we were inside a building. Now we're just in a virtual building, and so we have to do those same things. It'll give you that opportunity to collaborate with one another and to physically see one another, even through social distancing and the virtual platform. But we'll continue to do that as well. Keep in mind, we'll continue to comply with the shelter-in-place order that the governor laid out on April the 2nd. It goes through April 13. And that also falls into line with the guidelines about social distancing. We'll continue to maintain less than 10 folks in the building or in the same area, and we'll continue to be 6 feet apart. We'll never ask anybody to come into the building if they have health concerns, if they're dealing with someone who has a compromised immune system, or if they're dealing with an aging parent or a child and they don't want to take the risk or the chance of bringing something back into their home. We understand that. That's why we're giving you that virtual option as well. So keep that in mind as those planning days happen. We'll give you the opportunity to talk through what those look like. One of the things we're kind of playing around with right now with our academic coaches and with some folks at the district level is looking at the weeks of May and doing some project-based learning. And so they'll be talking about those particular projects as we go into these half-day plannings or these virtual plannings on Friday. And I think that'll open up a little bit of time for you guys. I understand too that you as teachers, all of our employees, you're dealing with some of the same things that our students are dealing with. This is new. You have a family at home. You're taking care of them. There could be sickness or illness there. We understand that. So we're trying to make sure that we can eliminate or alleviate some of the stress that's associated with this current situation that we're dealing with. Lots of things happening with our kids. We're making decisions every day about what to do about things that we've never really had to think about. For instance, grading. That's something we're having to really consider right now. And what I want to really stress to you guys is we're going to pursue the philosophy of grace. Students are in situations now that they've never been in. They're at home doing things that they've never had to do. They're not around you every day for you to offer that encouragement and guidance and all the things that we do as educators. And so we have to be considerate of that and their situation and show them some grace. The guidance we're receiving is, as of Friday, March the 13th, when we left school, whatever their grade was at that point, it cannot go any lower. It can only get better. And so as they're turning in information and they're remediating standards and they're doing things for you that you're scoring and grading, it can make that average or that score increase, but it cannot decrease. There's no penalty if they're not doing things. We want to continue to do every possible thing we can do to reach out to parents, to the students, whatever we can do to encourage them to continue working and turning in work. But we cannot penalize, nor are we going to penalize them for the situation that they're in. Lots of our kids don't have devices or connectivity. We're working on a plan after the shelter in place to address that, but we can't right now, and so we've got to continue to offer grace. Promotion and retention, they're still going to be required to be putting forth the effort, learning, turning in, making an effort so that they can continue to earn credit and then receive those promotional things at the end of the school year. And so we'll continue working with our parents and our students on that. And there's a letter going home after this video goes out to you guys. Wanted you to have the information first that'll stress the importance of continuing that learning process. And think about what they're learning now at home, maybe that we don't even consider. They're with their family. They're eating together more than they ever have before. They're doing things outside of the normal box that they have typically operated in. And so there's some learning going on there that's not really academic related, but it's going to make them a better student once they return to our buildings. And so keep that in mind when you're talking about grading, promotion, and retention. All those decisions are going to continue to be made as we move forward. Another couple of things I wanted to mention were items that were left at school by our students, in their lockers, things that they sold, products that they sold for fundraisers. All of those things are still there. And so after the shelter in place is lifted, we're going to begin looking at a plan at each school within those social distancing guidelines to allow our students to come back or their parents to come back and pick up some of those items. So things like things that they've sold for school fundraisers, we'll start that after the April 13th order has been lifted. Lockers and some of those other components, library books, things that they have, we'll look at May 1st going into the month of May and try to get those items back as well. We also need to consider what those items coming back to us are going to look like and how we're going to make sure that there's not something coming back into the building. So there will be a process that we disinfect and sanitize those as well. So I want you to know we're working on that as well. Field trips. All of our field trips for the remainder of the year, obviously with school being out under the governor's order, they have been canceled. And so we'll start a process now to allow our parents to get that money, anything that they've paid, back on those field trips. So we'll be working with the companies, tour companies, bus companies, to try to facilitate this for them and make this an easy process. I gave the principals some ideas yesterday of some things they could potentially do, with a conversation with the parents about taking that money and applying it to fees and things that are owed already. But that will be an individual conversation with every person that paid, because we've got to consider too, and this goes back to our grace, is we have some of our families, one or both spouse, they may have lost their job during this time. There's some financial hardships that are happening right now, so we have to consider those as well. But I wanted you to know those trips were canceled. We'll make decisions about summer events. We have summer camps and summer trips planned as well. We'll make those decisions after May the 1st and begin to think through those things. Pre-K registration, that was supposed to happen, and we're in that process right now. So we're coming up with a virtual lottery that we're going to try to do sometime around May 1st. We're getting that information out. Ms. Ingle's getting that information out to the pre-K teachers, the principals, as well as to the general public so that they don't miss out on that opportunity. And we want to make sure that we fill all those pre-K classes next year as we go into the fall. Same thing with kindergarten registration. That's a big day when we had the readiness fair here at AEC. It's always a good day for us to introduce ourselves to those parents and those students for their first introduction to school, and then also to make sure that they are going to be members of Walker County Schools in the future for the next 13 years. And so we're going to be working on ways to make that very simple for our parents to get our kids registered and to make sure that we have those numbers as we come into next year's school year, especially our enrollment. So more information is going to follow. We're going to keep our parents in that loop and make sure that you guys are in that loop as well, but we'll move forward with our registrations, both pre-K and kindergarten. Post-planning, I know those are obviously days that are coming up fairly soon. I want you to know that we will have some level of planning. It may end up being a virtual planning day, but we will have something specifically set aside for our teachers and our educators as we get to those last days of scheduled school. It brings me kind of to another point. There's a lot of waivers are floating around right now for things that we typically have to do by law. One of the things that was waived was the end of school year. With the governor closing schools for the year, they gave us the opportunity as well to say, we're going to close schools earlier. We considered that and we consulted with lots of folks, and we began to realize that if you close school, then you stop earning some of the dollars and some of the funds associated with students. Because we're doing school, but we're just doing it virtually, that continues that funding coming into the school system, which allows us to continue to pay all of our employees. And that was very important to me to make sure that our employees understood that paychecks are going to continue to come as regular as they have all year long. And we even paid early prior to spring break to make sure that you guys had those funds available. As the times were very anxious and changing every day, we wanted to make sure that that was not an additional stressor on you guys. So that will be what we'll look for our post-planning days. We'll continue to consider waivers and things that affect the school year, everything that goes on as far as the law associated with school, and we'll continue to keep you informed on quite a few of those things as well. As we move on down, we've got some field trips and summer camps planned for the summer. We'll make decisions on those after May 1st, and we'll be consulting with everyone that's involved with those so that we can get plans out there to the students involved, the parents involved, and of course the faculty and staff members that are involved as well. Legislative session. So if you think about it, the legislative session was right at crossover day when we stopped school and we began to socially distance. So a couple of things you need to know about that. Any of the legislation that made it to crossover day, potentially, and we don't know this for factual yet, but potentially they will eliminate all of that and only do what they have to do, which is by law, approve a budget. And so we feel like once they do come back into session, the one thing that they will approve will be the budget for FY21. The problem is we've missed out on several weeks, months, potentially, of revenue across the state of Georgia. And what happens there is that impacts the budget for the following year. So we're fearful that there's going to be some additional cuts to our budget. We don't know that for sure yet, but we're waiting to see how that's going to go and if that's going to happen. And that will be something that I'll continue to update you guys on, because I know that's very important, because that has an impact on allotments, it has an impact on expenditures and things that we're purchasing, it has an impact on all of the components of what we do as a school system. And so I wanted you to know that session will finish, because by law they have to finish, but the only thing they have to do by law is to approve that budget. We feel like that's something that they are going to do. I didn't mention this, and this is probably the biggest topic out there right now, and that is, what are we going to do about graduation? Graduation is a huge milestone for our students. It's a milestone that some of our kids, it will be the only person in their family to ever walk across that stage and get that diploma. That's extremely important. That is our mission and vision, and so we want to support that in every way possible. So our high school principals, myself, our board members, we're talking almost daily now about what is that going to look like. And so we're having some plans made now to look at things that we can do to create a traditional graduation environment, but it potentially ends up being a virtual environment. There's going to be lots of details coming out over the next few days. Both of our high school principals will be blasting that out on their websites and on social media. But I want you to know, with everything I have in me, we're going to try to make sure that our class of 2020 has the same opportunities to walk across that stage, to take their diploma, to turn that tassel, to throw that hat, and to enjoy the culmination of all that you guys have done over the years to get them to where they are and to launch them out into the world, ready for college, ready for work, ready for life. So I want you to know that we're working hard to make sure that that happens. So finally, let me just close out today by just reiterating what I said earlier, and that was to thank you for all that you guys have been doing. You're constantly staying in touch with our kids and their families, and I know they appreciate it. We've got a letter that's going to be going home to our parents. It'll be posted on our website and on social media probably this afternoon or as late as tomorrow morning, to let them know a snippet of what I just shared with you guys. I just wanted you guys to hear that first, but I want them to be in that same loop as well, so that there's some anxiety that's lessened for them. I've had a lot of proud moments over the past month as your superintendent, to see the amazing things that you guys do. That's been the thing since I've been here, is the amazing things through the power of team. And you guys have exemplified that well beyond my imagination and what I thought could ever happen. And it just continues to prove that teachers, educators, everyone associated with Walker County Schools, connected to our mission and vision, know what it takes to assure that our students are going to be successful. And you're doing that every day, and you're doing a fantastic job. So I want you to know how proud I am to be called your superintendent and be allowed to lead in the situation that we're in. And I know that we're going to come out on the other side better for it. Our kids are going to be better for it. Our families are going to be better. We're going to be closer as a school system. And this is going to be something we're going to look back on, and it's going to define us a little bit, but we're going to be able to say we did everything possible within our power to assure our students were taken care of. And I want you to know how much I appreciate that. My prayer right now is to continue to pray for you every day, for your family, for your health, for your safety, and for us to be back together quickly at some point in the future so that we can share together all the successes that we've been able to see virtually, but now back together we can share those together so we can celebrate one another and enjoy that company once again. So don't ever forget how important that is, that connection with one another. That is important, and we'll get to celebrate that one day real soon in the future. So again, thank you for allowing me to take a few minutes of your time to express this to you. I wanted to make sure you guys were in the same loop I am, and as it changes, I will take that message right back to you guys and let you know so that we're all on the same page at the same time, and we'll continue to move forward. And I know you guys are going to continue to make every effort just like you're doing right now. So thank you. Hope you have a good day, and I'll be talking to you soon.